Hello everyone. I hope you've had a good week and you're feeling ready to come and paint something special with me today.
We're just going to mix a few colours beforehand to save some time later. So we're going to take a little bit of white and add it to our green to make a light green for the lighter parts. I'm having a look at the reference and seeing what we can do here, what colours might be useful. A tiny amount of black in our red to make a darker red for the shadowed parts. And then I think it would be good to have a greyish colour for the background and also for some parts of the face. So we might take some black, just again a tiny amount, and add some white in, and to make a nice neutral grey, which is always good for toning things down and desaturating colours. And of course you don't have to stick to my colour palette, you could choose your own colours as well. We're working on toned paper today, and I'm just going to start with a very simple sketch. I'm using diluted ivory black to sketch out some very basic shapes: a circle for his head, an extended line for his back, a curved line for his tummy, two parallel lines for the wings. We're just making rough outline so that we know where to apply the paint. It's always good to have a sketch there just to guide you. And then a little curvy line underneath the wing. We're going to add a little beak, which is just a basic straight line, curved slightly. The eyes in the middle of the head. And now that we've got the basic shapes in, we can start refining those shapes. So we're going to bring the beak closer in up to his eye and extend that line over his eye like a little rainbow over his eye, and then flatten out the top of the head and refine that shape at the back. We can take that shape under his beak and turn it more into an S shape, which would be more realistic for a bird. We're just refining our shapes to make it look more bird-like rather than kindergarten 101. And we can actually put a little line in where we want the markings of the bird to go as well. That will just give us a guide for when we start painting. Now we can start blocking in the colours. A block-in stage is just putting down the basics, and then we'll add details and things to those basics later on. So we'll put a bit of green on the top of his head and some green on his wing. And then we can add the red markings around his face and just block in those basic colours, add the white parts and so on. once we finish blocking in all the dark parts, that there will still be some dark paint on the brush, and whatever paint's just on the brush, I'm just going to use just to fill in that dark area at the back of the bird, and actually put a little bit in the tummy area too, in that white area, so it will turn grey, which is great for a shadow on the white parts of his tummy. And then we can use our pre-mixed dark red to work on the red parts of his body as well. So I'm going to add a little dark green to the top of his head and underneath his wings. And without washing the brush, I'll dip the brush into our grey paint, so we'll get a greenish grey colour. And that will be good for doing the block in of his beak and his wings. And for the wings, I'm just doing really just lines in the direction that the feathers would grow. Hummingbirds move very quickly, so you won't see a lot of detail in their wings. Now our bird's starting to take shape very nicely. We're just going to apply a background now, and I'm just using all different shades of green and grey, and I'll put a little bit of red here and there just to give the impression that there are flowers that the bird's feeding on. So we're using nice big brush and very quick brush strokes. We don't have to be precise. This is just a sketch, and it doesn't matter if your lines are visible or brush strokes are visible. It can even add to the overall effect. If you're enjoying this tutorial and you'd like to see more free lessons in the future, please give us a like and subscribe. We're going to take some black now, and we'll go in and strengthen the line underneath his beak across the top of his eye and sort of feather it in so it's not such a harsh line. And then we're going to go along the top of the wings just to strengthen that line at the top, and then we're going to feather those lines in down into the wings. So nice quick movements with the brush and just sort of feather that line out. Again, the wings of the hummingbird are really moving very fast, so we're not going to put lots of fine details in, just give the impression of feathers and things. And while you've got that paint on the brush, whatever's left on the brush, we'll just tidy up around the outline of the bird. Now we're going to start adding the little details that make it pop. We're going to take our black and paint in his eye. And then we can take a nice grey for just around the pupil of the eye and sort of feather that into the back of his head. Put a little highlight on the eye, a little catch light. And I didn't use white for the catch light because that would be too bright. We will use the grey that we mixed up for the background. And again, the top of the beak as well. And I'm just going to smooth out the feathers on the top of his head before adding the bright parts to the feathers. And for the bright parts, we're going to use our very light green that we did in our pre-mix. So that was the green mixed with white. And to put the highlights on the feathers, we're just going to dab it on. We want those little bright green speckles on the top of his head and also in the wing area. We're just about finished. Just going to add a few finishing touches. I'm going to fluff up his feathers. Again, I'm using very soft lines with the brush. I don't want to put lots of detail in there. We want to create the effect of movement. So nice soft lines with the brush to fluff out his feathers. Add a few details to the background and then we'll be done. we've painted ourselves this lovely little sketch of a hummingbird. I think he's beautiful. If you've painted something beautiful too, please share it with us and put it on our Facebook page so we can all enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching and for following along and for subscribing. If you're feeling inspired, you might want to try these tutorials too. And I'll see you in the next video.